All right, let's bring my man Will Herring in. Auburn great, former NFLer, now Auburn sideline analyst. Will, man, we appreciate you making the time. I know you're on the move right now. You got some important stuff going on, so thank you very much.
Absolutely, Pete. Thank you for having me on, buddy. Excited about the season. I will say I'm passing the baton to my former teammate, Brett Evans, another defensive guy I played with. With 4 kids, 3 of the 4 daughters. Man, last year I missed a soccer game or 2, and so I'm passing the torch. I am going to be in Texas for the Baylor game.
Oh, really?
Fan. Yeah, I got one of my old teammates is a Baylor guy, so I'm trying to pull some strings and get down on the field. But I'm not going to be. I may go give Andy and Ronnie B a hard time if I can heckle them a little bit. Those are my radio guys. It was a blast, man. I loved doing it for 2 years. A lot of fun, going on the road, getting to see some cool places that I'd never been to. But right now, full-time mortgage lender, full-time dad, and but yeah, excited about the season.
Well, quick follow-up. Who's your friend? Your buddy from Baylor that you played with?
Joe Pawelek. Pawelek. We call him Joe Paw. Is that not Joe Paw?
Yeah, I know who he is. And Scotty back in the studio in Waco was losing his mind. He knows him very well. I could tell.
Talked to Joe Paw yesterday, and he's doing great. I think he lives in the San Antonio area now with his family. But yeah, Joe Paw was the man when he was a dear friend. So my 4th year in Seattle, he was a rookie and just a great teammate. We actually lived together. So my wife and I, like, his lease ran out towards the end of the season. I mean, I don't know who signs a lease in an apartment that doesn't go through the entire season, but eventually Joe Paw does. And so he was homeless for like a month. All right. And after we spent a month, two married couples under one roof in a 1,346 square foot house, that was all I wanted of Joe Paw. But I do still love him and looking forward to seeing him and his wife.
I got one question for you personal before we jump into the football stuff. I used to work at a news station, and one of my missions was to help get young kids in foster homes adopted. What you and your wife have done with adoption, and people just look it up, check it out. It's an inspiration, and I just want to say thank you because it's really special, unique work. What's the number one thing you've gotten out of your work and adopting?
Pete, my wife, I can take my sunglasses off because we're driving through the rain. My wife, Ashley, just when we were dating in college, the Lord put it on her heart to adopt. And so that's something we got married, expecting to have a few kids and then to adopt 1 or 2 on the back end. And the Lord had different plans. We struggled to get pregnant after we'd been married a little over a year. And so we just got the ball rolling on the adoption front, and the Lord just opened up, just kicked some doors wide open. And 4 or 5 months later, we had our first baby girl. Then we had our second child, just the old fashioned way. And since then we just felt called to adopt. And so the one thing that I've taken away probably more than anything is just how there's no difference. It's hard to wrap your head around it if you've not experienced this, but being a believer in faith, being a follower of Jesus, the Bible talks about being grafted into the family of God. The Israelites, the Jewish nation were the people of God, and they still are the Lord's people. But we as believers, through the blood of Jesus and putting our faith in Him, we've been grafted in, and He loves us and calls us His children. And so, in the same way, adoption is the same way. I mean, there's no difference between Maddie and Isaiah and Daisy. Those are the 3 adopted, and then Reese is our biological daughter. But they're all our children, and we love them all. And we would, just like you would for your kids, we'd lay our lives down for our kids, and just love them to death.
Awesome story. I had to touch on that with you. I couldn't waste the opportunity. All right, I want to talk to you about Auburn football now. Jackson Arnold, coming over, taking a huge job and another opportunity, right, to play for Auburn. What is the pressure like around him this season, and on Hugh Freeze for that matter, to get it right for the Tigers? This is a perennial program. I grew up watching the Iron Bowl, and just Auburn's out of this world, right? How heavy is basically what they're carrying right now?
I mean, it's as a head coach, athletic director, quarterback. I mean, you're one of the most loved people in the state of Alabama, or the most disliked. It is a high pressure job, but those three positions, and yeah, I mean, there's I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like there's not a ton of pressure riding on this season. I love Coach Freeze, the man he is, the husband, the coach he is to these boys. He's done a phenomenal job building a roster, and it's lacked a few things here and there that we lost some really close games in the last few years, that if we're 7 points better, or if we hit a few field goals here and there, we're looking at a totally different outcome to several games in the last few seasons. And so this is the third year we have a much better roster. If we can find a quarterback to distribute the ball, keep a balanced attack, we've got some weapons on the outside that can catch the ball, that can get open down the field, that can get behind the defense. I mean, I've been to one practice this year. I was talking to Jason Campbell the other day, and this offensive line of ours is thought very highly of by the NFL scouts. And so, if you can run the football, and if you got a quarterback that can hurt you a little bit with his legs, and you got the weapons, you just got to get on the ball. And so, I'm very optimistic. I've heard mixed reviews. It sounds like as good as, we're very hopeful on the offensive side. Our defense, I think, has had the upper hand so far in camp, which is being a defensive guy. I kind of chuckle, and that's kind of what I expect, because you go against these guys every day, and offense a lot of times is more schematic and scheming up, preparing for the defense that you're going to go against. Whereas, right now Auburn's going to, you're being more vanilla, just working on the basics, the basic concepts, route concepts, running concepts. And so defense should have the upper hand, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see offensively how we do.
Yeah, a guy like you who's been around the program for so long and has ties to it, you learn more at one practice than I think some members of the media will learn all summer camp. Did you glean from that one practice and some of the conversations you had that Auburn this year will be a run-heavy team, because that's a strength behind that, like you said, retooled and revamped offensive line?
The second practice and the third practice is so much more insightful than me going to the first, because the first time I show up, I'm like getting a hug from Dr. Goodlett, or from Rich McGlynn, or from all these people that I've known for a decade and a half, and several of them are still in the building. I had my son Isaiah, so we were over there on the sled, punching the sled, and so I wish I could say that I was out there standing next to because there were several NFL scouts there. Their job is to evaluate. My job was just to go out there and have a good time with my 10-year-old, and to just enjoy catching up with some folks. Man, this offensive line, they look good. They look good in pads. They're. I mean, it's an SEC. It's a Georgia caliber offensive line, and if you can get your running back going to the second level before he's checking up, I mean, that's where Alabama and Georgia's success has lied in the last 5 years for Georgia, five or 6, 7 years for Georgia, and 10 or 15 for Alabama. They build it from the ground up, and so. But to say, is it going to be a run heavy pass? I mean, I think that's hard to say, because I mean, on paper we've got a better wide receiving core than running backs. We've got DeMar Austin, but besides him, we don't have a ton of experience. Jeremiah Cobb has shown flashes, versatile guy in the backfield that can catch as well as run. But we also got a young buck from Elba who set all sorts of Alabama state records. So don't know much about him. He's young. What's the learning curve going to be like for him? So I don't necessarily think we're going to be a run heavy team. We've got probably a little more experience at the wide receiver, a little more upside at the wide receiver position. So it'll be interesting to see.
All right, one last question for you before I let you out of here. You have great experience, obviously, in the NFL, and I want you to lean on your Auburn experience here. You have as a player, you're looking at this SEC schedule and you're like, man, this is going to be a meat grinder. But then you start the season off with a formidable opponent like a Baylor. Where's the mindset like for a young man at Auburn who knows that SEC season is right around the corner, but you've got to focus on another big game against another Power 4 conference in the opening week on the road on a Friday night? What's the mindset like?
Yeah, I mean, camp is they don't physically maybe get after it like we did, 15, 20 years ago, but it's still training camp. It's still a grind. And I would imagine that they look at, you show up at camp that first day and you're like, we got a month of, a month of camp ahead of us. But having a formidable opponent in that opening week, I love that. Even if it's not a top 5 or a top 10 program, it does give you something to set your sights on. For us, we played Washington State one year, and they were a West Coast team, a Pac-10 team, and we didn't really know what we were getting into, but we knew they were a legitimate program in a totally different part of the country. And by the end of the camp, let's face it, you're tired of like headbutting the same guy every day, and you're just ready to go hit somebody with another colored uniform on. And so, this team will learn a lot after the first game on Friday. I do love that we're playing a formidable opponent. Then we got a couple lesser opponents, and then after that, it's hey, let's get into it. We got Oklahoma and A&M on the road, and we're going to be into the gauntlet of the SEC schedule at that point.
Will Herring, man, amazing dude off the field, great player on it in the NFL and at Auburn. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today.
Absolutely, Pete. Thank you, buddy. War Eagle.